I didn't discover the truth in a dramatic way. There was no lipstick on a collar, no late night phone call, no stranger knocking on the door. It happened on a completely ordinary evening. I was folding laundry on the couch, half watching a show I didn't care about when my husband's tablet lit up on the coffee table. A message preview flashed across the screen. Not romantic, not explicit, just 4 words that stopped my breathing. I miss you today. My husband's name is Jason. We'd been married for 12 years. We had a daughter, a mortgage, routines so familiar they felt permanent. Jason was in the shower. The tablet buzzed again. I told myself not to touch it. I told myself it was none of my business. But something in my chest already knew. When I opened the message thread, I didn't feel anger at first. I felt confusion. There were dozens of messages between Jason and a woman named Lauren. They talked about work stress, bad days, childhood memories, inside jokes I didn't understand. It wasn't sexual, and somehow that hurt more. Because these were the conversations he no longer had with me. What unsettled me most wasn't what they said. It was how often they talked. Morning messages, midday check-ins. Late night, did you get home safe? There were gaps where our family moments should have been. A photo from the zoo sent to her, a joke from our dinner table. Shared with her first, a bad day he never mentioned to me. I scrolled further back. Months, then a year. This wasn't a phase. This was a parallel life. Over the past year, Jason hadn't been cruel. He wasn't distant in an obvious way. He just stopped showing up. He forgot things I said, stopped asking questions, listened but didn't respond. I blamed stress, fatigue, life. I told myself this was what long marriages looked like. But sitting there, holding his tablet, I realized something chilling. He wasn't emotionally unavailable. He was emotionally occupied. When Jason came out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, I was still sitting there. The tablet was on the table between us. He didn't ask why I had it. He didn't look surprised. He just closed his eyes, like someone who'd been waiting for this moment. "It's not what you think," he said. That sentence is almost funny now. He told me she was a coworker, that it started harmlessly, that she understood him, that talking to her felt easy. He swore nothing physical had happened. And I believed him, because believing him meant I didn't have to blow up my life. That night, I lay awake next to him, listening to his breathing, wondering how two people could share a bed while living in completely different worlds. In the morning, I asked him one question. Why her? He opened his mouth, then stopped. That hesitation said more than any confession. He didn't choose her because she was special. He chose her because she didn't know him as a husband, or a father, or a man who forgets to take out the trash. She knew the version of him that existed before responsibility. And suddenly, everything made sense. I stayed for 2 more months. Not because I forgave him, but because I needed time to accept that the marriage I was mourning had already been gone for a long time. I watched him more closely after that. Not suspiciously or carefully. And I noticed something that still hurts to admit. He tried harder with her than he ever had with me. That's when I knew. Infidelity doesn't always look like hotel rooms and lies. Sometimes it looks like emotional safety given to the wrong person. I didn't leave because he talked to another woman. I left because he stopped choosing me, long before I ever noticed.
When my wife told me she cheated, I thought the pain couldn't get worse. I was wrong. Rachel and I had been married for 10 years. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. Or at least that's what I believed. We had routines, inside jokes, Sunday mornings that felt safe. We laughed, we argued, we made plans. I trusted her. That night, she sat across from me at the kitchen table, hands shaking, eyes red like she hadn't slept. The room felt heavy, like it already knew what was coming. "I need to tell you something," she said. I didn't answer, because deep down I already knew. You always know before the words are spoken. She told me about Ethan, a guy from her gym. She said it happened once, that it was a mistake, that she felt invisible and weak and stupid. She cried. A lot. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there, staring at the wood grain of the table, thinking about how fragile trust really is. I was devastated. But I chose forgiveness. Not because it was easy. Not because I was strong. But because I loved her. And because I believed people could mess up and still come back. We started therapy. Long sessions, painful conversations, learning how to talk again without hurting each other. For a while, it felt like we were healing. Rachel became more attentive. She checked in more. She tried harder. She told me she was grateful I stayed, and I believed her. But something about it all felt rehearsed, like she was following a script she'd memorized. Months passed. One Friday night, I ran into her best friend Megan at a bar downtown. I hadn't planned on staying long, just one drink after work. When she saw me, her smile didn't quite land. She hugged me, but her arms were stiff. Her eyes wouldn't stay on mine. We talked about nothing at first. Weather, work, small talk that felt too loud. After a few drinks, she leaned closer and said, "You're stronger than I could ever be." I laughed, uncomfortable. "For staying," she added. Something in her tone made my stomach drop. "What do you mean?" I asked. She froze. The air between us changed. She looked around the bar, then back at me like she'd already said too much. "You really don't know, do you?" she whispered. That sentence cracked something open inside me. Megan told me the truth. The affair wasn't once. It lasted almost a year. Hotel rooms, weekend errands, entire conversations that had nothing to do with the gym. And the worst part? Everyone knew. Her friends, her sister, people I'd had dinner with, laughed with, trusted. They knew, and they let me walk around like a fool. I didn't even finish my drink. I just stood up and left. When I got home, the house was quiet. Rachel wasn't there yet. I sat on the couch, staring at the door, replaying every moment from the past year. Every smile, every excuse, every time I felt something was off, and convinced myself I was paranoid. When she finally walked in, I didn't raise my voice. I asked one question. How many people knew? She stopped walking. Didn't answer. Didn't look at me. And in that silence, I felt something colder than anger, humiliation. But that still wasn't the worst part. A week later, during our last therapy session, I decided to tell the therapist everything, the full truth, what Megan had said. The therapist went quiet, too quiet. She asked a few careful questions. Then she said something that didn't sit right. Rachel talked about her guilt. Very early on, she said, even before you officially found out. I felt my chest tighten. What do you mean? I asked. She hesitated, then continued. She came to me months before the confession. She wanted help deciding how to tell you, or whether she should. That's when it hit me. Rachel didn't confess because she couldn't live with the guilt. She confessed because she was preparing an exit. Therapy wasn't about saving our marriage. It was about managing the damage. That night, I packed a bag. Not in anger, not in sadness, but with clarity. I realized I hadn't just been betrayed by my wife. I had been surrounded by people who watched it happen and chose comfort over honesty. Some betrayals hurt. Others erase your sense of reality. And once that's gone, there's nothing left to save.